I think we can go to the next slide. I want to explain first and foremost why we came up with this initiative. I think the spirit of the initiative explains a lot also the setup. The idea basically is, and I'm not telling you anything new, that we believe that there has been a lot of negative discourse about democracy in the last decades. And we have all been participating a lot in conferences where the rise of populism was discussed and the growing mistrust in the instruments of democracy among the citizens. We were thinking about this, how we could change the discourse on democracy, not only in our own countries, but in Europe as a whole. And what we found is that the idea of sharing best practice, in which our institute is specializing, could also be applied to the issue of democracy. And the basic idea then was to create something like a selection procedure. I'm not saying a competition, because it's more than more and less at the same time as a competition. It's a selection procedure where European cities can apply to become a showcase for democracy for all over Europe. When I talk about Europe, I'm always referring to the Council of Europe, not just to the European Union Europe. So the 47 member states of the Council of Europe are our reference frame. What do we want to achieve with the initiative? We want to achieve, on the one hand, the sharing of best practice in the field of democracy. On the other hand, we want to use the fact that a city receives this title to become that it is becoming the focus of a positive European discussion about what can be done in terms of democracy. So I would like to go to the next slide to explain to you a little bit the procedure. And I have to do this for myself as well, because this is, I'm not sure that you can read this well, the timeline. I'm referring to this because this is going to be quite an important part of what we want to present today. The idea of the selection is basically that we will publish a call in the spring of 2021, where we ask European cities to apply for the title. And this call is being established, is being worked on right now, and this is one of the reasons why we want to actually have this discussion today with you, because it is very important that the call is developed in dialogue with European cities. We have launched the European Capital of Democracy initiative on September 18, so it's about 1 month ago. It has been receiving a lot of support from mayors from all over Europe, so we know that the concept of having an annual European Capital of Democracy is something which is very appealing to all over Europe. During the launch, we had interventions from the mayors of the Visegrad capitals. We had, so from Poland, from Slovakia, from the Czech Republic, from Hungary. We had the Vice President of the European Commission present and giving a presentation. We had the Mayor of Athens, we had a representative of Paris and of Vienna. So there were many, and Gdansk, for example, in Poland. So there were many mayors who already aired their support for this idea. As you might know, we are also in close touch with the Council of Europe on this initiative. I will tell you also later in terms of the substance where there is a connection. And the whole launch event was under the patronage of the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, as well as the Vice President for Democracy and Demography of the European Commission. So at this stage now, it is published that we aim to select a European capital of democracy. What we are working on at the moment is to work on a realistic call. And this call is supposed to be published in spring 2021. What do I mean with a call? We are going to ask European cities to apply for this title with certain documents, which I will describe to you later. They have to be ready for the to actually submit these documents in March 2022. So it's about 1 year that they have time to prepare all the documents, and I will go into the documents later on.
But Helfried, can I
Yes.
quickly do a little résumé in French?
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Donc, juste pour résumer vite fait ce qui est dit, donc c'est un projet de Innovation and Politics de créer cette capitale européenne pour la démocratie. Et donc déjà pour comprendre ce qu'il entend par européenne, c'est pas l'Union européenne, mais tous les pays qui sont membres du Conseil européen. Et l'idée, c'est de redonner plus d'importance à la démocratie, redéfinir notre démocratie. Et donc, le projet a été lancé en septembre cette année. Et maintenant, ils sont en train de préparer l'appel à candidature qui sera publié en 2021. Et tous les pays auront, ou les villes plutôt, auront 1 an pour préparer leur candidature. Il va expliquer tout à l'heure plus en détail qu'est-ce qu'il faut soumettre pour la candidature. Et l'objectif de ce séminaire aussi, c'est de voir un peu avec vous, qui sont des représentants des villes et des acteurs qui participent à construire la démocratie, quels sont les sujets à mettre en avant dans une démarche comme telle, quel sera par exemple un projet à lancer ou à créer dans une ville si elle devient la capitale européenne pour la démocratie. Merci.
Thank you. Katharina, please just interrupt me if you think this is the right time to translate. Yeah. In March 2022, we are expecting submissions from all the cities that are interested in the title, and in this title is the title for the year 2023. So the first European jury selected city will hold the title in 2023. This is quite important. And why does it take so long? I'm underlining this because there is a jury process involved. So once the cities have submitted their registration, there will be a group of experts which will actually look into the submitted documents, and the group of experts will create a short list of 3 cities that will be submitted, 5 cities, sorry, that will be submitted to the to a citizens jury, and we intend to have 10,000 European citizens to vote in an online procedure on the title European Capital of Democracy. This has been done before by our institute. We have used a best practice awards jury selection also with 1,000 European citizens. In this case, we need to have 10,000 European citizens to have a bigger number and to have a real valid input on the part of the European citizenry.
Donc peut-être aussi pour résumer ça, donc la première capitale qui sera désignée, c'est qu'en 2023, parce qu'il y a tout un processus avec un jury et on vote par des citoyens, par 10 000 citoyens européens. And Helfried, I already have a question for you. Can it only be big cities that can apply, so like metropoles, or can small cities apply as well?
There is no formal criterion. I will explain to you later that we are talking about capacity to deliver. The question is whether a city can actually fulfill all the roles that it needs to fulfill with as a European capital of democracy, because we are not only talking about participatory practices, we are also talking about the city as being a stage for European discussion on democracy. So there are many logistical issues also involved. And so in a first dialogue between the European Capital of Democracy initiative and the city, this will have to be cleared whether the technical requirements can be fulfilled. These are just issues. We cannot do it in a village, but we are not talking about capitals only, obviously. And you cannot compare cities which with a huge touristic infrastructure, for example, with cities who don't have this kind of infrastructures and where it would be extremely difficult to have conferences. So there is to be this first precondition of capacity to deliver.
Il y a aussi quelqu'un qui a il faut peut-être clarifier une chose. Donc, la troisième capitale, en fait, can you explain why the third capital will be in 23 and how the first and the second will be selected?
Yes, I'm doing my presentation now. The first capital of democracy, which I have described to you, which is going to be selected by this procedure, is going to take place in 2023. And the reasons for this are obvious, because we need to publish the call, we need to give the cities time to submit their documents, to think about the program, to submit their documents, and then we need time for the jury process. So this is the time frame why we are talking from the call being published in spring 2021 to the title being held in the year 2023, 15 September 2023. Now, we do want to have a program in the meantime. This is very important to us because, and it's important for the initiative, because otherwise nothing would happen in between apart from city officials and mayors thinking hard about a curated program of democracy which would be implemented only in 2023. So we came up with an intermediary solution for this, a bridge solution for this, and this is that we will work with 2 cities in the meantime who will act as showcases for the initiative, first in 2021, 22, and then the other one from 2022 to 2023. These are always our year for the year for the Capital of Democracy always starts on the International Day of Democracy. So we are always starting on 15 September 2021. So in we are starting from 15 September 2021 with the first European Capital of Democracy. But this Capital of Democracy is not being selected in the way I just described to you. This is a city which is basically stepping forward and discussing with us how a future program should look like, and we will aim to have a very similar program as we would expect a city to win in the selection procedure. And then there will be a second of those pilot cities, let's call them pilot cities. So those 2 slots will be negotiated between us and the cities, and we will aim to have it as best examples for what we expect from all those cities who apply for the call. And in 2023, the first jury selected city will be chosen. Will hold the title. I think we can. I think we can go to the next slide. I just explained to you, these are the steps we are aiming for now between 2021 and 2022. This is the application by the city. What do we expect from an application by the city? It's a two-pronged, not process, it's two parts basically. One is connected to the Council of Europe, as I've said before, and the other one is a forward-looking document. It's the document connected to the Council of Europe is called 12 Principles of 12 Principles of Good Governance and Democracy. And this document has been adopted by the Council of Europe and is basically a very good measurement of what is happening in a city in terms of participation and transparency. And we will use this document to give it to the cities to have some kind of self-assessment, to look at where can we answer questions easily, where do we stand on certain issues. We can go to the next slides, the two ones, one even further, please, Laura, if you give me the track record, and then one further, the 12 Principles of Good Governance and Democracy. You see those 12 principles. I'm not going to go into those. They are just reference points for the cities to have a self-assessment that they will submit together with the application. Katharina, do you want to translate this, or do we go?
Oui, je peux le juste dire dans une phrase. Donc, chaque ville va faire une sorte de évaluation de leur propre démarche démocratique contre les 12 principes de la bonne gouvernance et la démocratie. Et l'idée, c'est aussi qu'en devenant la capitale européenne, on peut travailler sur les aspects où il faut avancer.
So this is basically about what happened in the past, and it's not something which is going to be judged in terms of you have been good in Principle 7 and you have been bad in Principle 12. It just should give the city and the city officials an opportunity to reflect on where they stand. And obviously, the experts would look into this document whether it's being taken seriously or not. This would be important as well. And the next phase is then what we call a curated program of the 12 dimensions, the curated program on democracy, which we would expect the city to submit. And this is something where we ask for the creativity, the ideas, and also a realistic but also ambitious program. And this is basically the program with which a city would have to convince first the experts and then European citizens that they deserve the title. We have please next slide, we have developed these dimensions. Please have a look at those. They are basically, again, not hard criteria. It's something where when you look at it, you know that in your city there are some points which you can easily fulfill, others might be more difficult. Many of them are interconnected. We can send you the document we have created so far on this. It's obviously more than just those headlines. We have explanatory paragraphs on each of those, but you see that we have been trying to cover the dimensions that we believe the participation is participation needs to be, those dimensions that need to be covered by a good and democratic practice. Again, this is very flexible, and we believe that the applications by cities will look very differently. There will be some which will be much stronger on dimension 7 and others much stronger on dimension 6, for example. So as we have learned also from our other jury exercises, it will also be a question which dimensions are most important for the European citizenry if you win the title or not. This is not going to be only an objective process. It will also be something like a survey of what citizens believe is important. Katharina?
Oui, donc peut-être juste dans le programme qui vont proposer les villes qui soumettent leur candidature, il y a 12 thèmes auxquels il faut répondre ou pour lesquels il faut proposer des programmes et des actions. Après, chaque ville a le droit de bien sûr mettre le focus ou la priorité sur les thématiques qui les intéressent les plus. Et ça sera en fait aux citoyens qui vont voter à la fin pour la ville à décider quelles sont les priorités aussi pour eux. Donc si par exemple pour les citoyens européens, les questions du climat et l'écologie sont une des grandes priorités, peut-être une ville qui met plus l'accent sur ça a plus de chances de gagner, de devenir la capitale européenne. Mais bien sûr, ces 12 dimensions, c'est pour guider un peu le programme et chacun peut mettre son propre accent.
Next slide, please. So there you have a little visualization of what we expect to happen in a European capital of democracy. And I think this is very important to understand. One, contrary to a European capital of culture, for example, what you cannot do is ask somebody from outside to organize something on your own democratic practice. We are really asking the future capitals of democracy to change something in an innovative way in their own democratic practice. And this has to be developed by the city officials, by the city administration, obviously in consultation with their own population. And this is the core of an application. What we also intend to do, and this is on top of it, is that we want to bring the European discourse on democracy to this city. And this is what we believe also is a benefit to the city, but it's obviously a benefit to Europe. We want to organize conferences, best practice exchanges, mayors' conferences, discussions on technology and democracy. We call those strands or tracks where we want to bring up all the challenges that democracy is faced with at the moment, but as I said, in the way of a positive discourse together, and we want to organize this in this city. Now, obviously, the city is not responsible for organizing this. This is something the Innovation in Politics Institute and the European Capital of Democracy Initiative will do together with third partners. So we agree with the city once it is chosen European Capital of Democracy by the European citizenry on this external program, and you'll see what we are trying to achieve there with this visualization. So the important thing for us is that it's not just an impact on the city, and it's not just an impact on the comparability of cities, how they organize their own democratic practices. We also want to have a pan-European impact with this initiative. And this is what we bring to the table.
Donc, peut-être pour résumer, il y a deux objectifs principaux pour cette capitale. D'un côté, c'est lancer un nouveau projet ou un changement de démarche participative dans la ville qui accueille la capitale européenne de la démocratie. Donc, vraiment que la ville se lance dans une nouvelle démarche ou adapte des démarches, mais vraiment de manière importante qui sont en cours. et donc avoir un vrai impact sur la démocratie dans cette ville même, et c'est ça aussi qui sera évalué dans la candidature et qui fait un peu objet de notre discussion tout à l'heure. Et l'autre idée ou objectif de cette capitale, c'est de aussi mener les discussions européennes sur la démocratie, donc par exemple autour de questions d'innovation, droit à l'information dans cette ville. Et les projets et les discussions autour de ces questions-là ne seront pas forcément organisées que par la ville, mais par l'Innovation and Politics Institute avec ses partenaires. Donc, par exemple, nous aussi, comme Décider Ensemble, on va travailler ensemble avec eux pour mener des discussions qui sont en plus une vision européenne dans cette capitale. Et après, il y a des formats différents. Ça peut être vraiment des conférences, ça peut être aussi des choses beaucoup plus interactives.
Slide, please. So here you just find all the references where you can look on our website, etc., and where you can write to us. But I would also like to go to the next slide again, because this is a reduced timeline. I explained to you already, we are talking, the other timeline was comprising also the so-called pilot cities. But what we would like to concentrate on today is the timeline that you just now see in front of you, which is the timeline applying to the first selected European capital of democracy, with a call that we are just developing. In March 2022, the documents have to be ready, the curated program has to be ready and submitted. In April, July 2022, the experts will go through all the documents and they will create the shortlist. In August of 2022, we will have the juries, the citizens jury vote. And on 15 September 2022, we want to announce the first jury selected European capital of democracy. And then we have 1 year time to work on the program together with the city. And in 2023, 15 September 2023, we are starting with the program of the first jury selected city.
There's a question, how are you selecting the citizens that are part of the jury? And do you launch, will there a call for participating in this jury and all the 47 member countries of the Council of Europe?
This is a very relevant question, and it's a very difficult question for us, because what we will do for sure is, as we have done in our 1,000 member jury for the Innovation in Politics Awards, which we have organized, we will certainly find jurors from all the 47 member states of the Council of Europe. We will try to make it representative for the European population. We will not be able to make it representative for the population of each member state of the Council of Europe, for example, especially not with regard to the language question, because we will not be able to do this in all the languages of the Council of Europe. So the build-up of the jury is quite a feat. We have obviously a lot of discussions with experts on this issue. It has not been done before, as far as we know, but we have to remain realistic, and being realistic means on the language issue we have to be very practical. It will probably be just English, and it will be obviously a jury that covers all the member states of the Council of Europe, not necessarily fully in line with proportionality. We are trying to feature this, but we are talking about very small member states up to very large member states. So this is going to be difficult with a sample of 10,000 jurors. And since it's online based, also there is also obviously a kind of a skewing there. So there are going to be lots of challenges for this. but we will try our best and we will be transparent, as the whole issue of transparency is obviously extremely important for the whole initiative. It needs to be a process that can be followed and that can be seen as trustworthy by the European citizens.
I think you can continue. The next slide.
Okay. Well, I'm done with my presentation. So if there are questions on this part now, before we go on to the next one.
Yes. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions sur le projet en soi? On a eu déjà quelques-unes. N'hésitez pas à les mettre. Sinon, vous pouvez les mettre aussi à fur et à mesure et on va les transmettre. I think you can continue. Ah, ouais. Which will be the, you said that there will also be experts that are selecting. What kind of experts? Are there elected people? Are there public officials? Are they researchers, teachers? Who are the experts?
Well, it will be a mixture probably of all of those. We need experts who are experts on democratic practices in cities, but we also need experts who know how to run a good jury process. We need experts who have a political understanding of the issue of democracy in Europe as a whole. So there are many features, and it cannot be a group that is too large at the same time, because obviously this is a qualitative, the qualitative part of the exercise. So they will have to look into the cities that apply, and it needs to be feasible. So we are talking about a group of not more than 10 people, most probably. But it's something, again, that will be transparent once the call is being published, because that you need to then people need to know with what they are dealing with. We are approaching these kind of people at the moment, and it is also important that on the one hand they are seen as trustworthy, on the other hand they are not. We cannot just have celebrities on the expert board who would not have time to devote a lot of time to this process, because this will be quite time consuming in those 2 months we are talking about.
Thanks. I think for now there are no other questions, but if s'il y a d'autres questions, n'hésitez pas à les poser, on va les transmettre tout à l'heure.
Okay.
Then we are now getting to our test scenario we would like to do with you in a breakout session. Thank you very much. What we like to work on with you is to collect your participation project ideas.
Just quickly, we can't hear you really well. It's a little bit, especially since it's in English, it'd be better to break it.
Again, is it better now? Great. So we would like to work together with you in a test scenario. What we would like is to collect your participation project ideas for European Capital of Democracy program. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new project no one has ever thought of. We want to assume for this case that as the applying process starts, the project is at the stage of an idea. And so we can look at the project developing within the time frame of the application for the European Capital of Democracy. Katharina, maybe you would like to join in here?
Yes, donc elle est en train d'expliquer le travail qu'on va faire en groupe maintenant, en 2 groupes. L'idée, c'est de se projeter dans un appel à candidature et donc de réfléchir quel type de projet une ville souhaitera proposer ou lancer pour cette capitale européenne. Donc bien sûr, ça ne doit pas être un projet complètement innovant, mais ça peut être une idée qui existait déjà. Et aussi, l'idée, c'est que c'est un projet qui est plutôt au stade d'idée quand on fait l'appel et qui sera développé tout au long du processus pour devenir la capitale européenne de la démocratie et qui sera lancé au lancement de cette capitale.
So imagine your mayor, your administration, or your city is applying for the European Capital of Democracy, which is the participation project you would want to launch in the area of participation. Why are we doing this? We are currently developing and finalizing the call for the European Capital of Democracy. And it's important for us to take into consideration what your requirements and lead times for a participation project are, so that we can learn from you, refine and adapt our call and process when necessary. Katharina?
L'idée de cet atelier, c'est aussi pour voir qu'est-ce que vous en pensez, quelles sont vos idées des projets. Est-ce que c'est réaliste de se dire on lance une idée au début de la candidature et on met en œuvre le projet avec la capitale. Donc, eux, ils sont en train de préparer l'appel à la candidature et c'est une sorte de reality check pour voir avec vous si c'est réaliste ou pas et comment on devrait concevoir ce programme pour que ça vous serve, pour que ça vous permette de mettre en place des nouveaux projets.
We will collect and discuss your ideas in a couple of minutes during our breakout sessions. So in the meantime, you could think about what you would like to do and maybe get inspired by our participation best practices that Nicola is going to show to you now.
Yes, hello, bonjour. I will start with one project. It is called Werkstatt Junges Wien. It was a promising practice from Vienna presented at the Act Now Mayors Conference in Vienna in 2020 to support the creation of its comprehensive youth strategy. Vienna approached the most knowledgeable experts in the field. Would you like to translate this quickly, Katharina, and then I will press play.
Peut-être c'est mieux, maybe it's better after the video so I can summarize.
Okay.
Donc, avant de se lancer dans le groupe de travail, on va voir 2-3 exemples des projets intéressants, innovants qu'on pourrait présenter par exemple pour une capitale européenne de la démocratie. Ça, c'est pour vous donner une inspiration. Donc, on va voir 2-3 vidéos et après, je peux vous faire un résumé.
When you walk around the city with open eyes, you see that not everything is going well, especially for young persons. We thought about how can we change it, and we tried to change it by asking them and bringing them inside our team. And it turned out that if you ask and if you involve young persons, very many suggestions came that give us the possibility to make things better for the whole city society.
Listening to children, their ideas and opinions promotes commitment. It also makes them aware of their own and of others' social responsibility. In Vienna, more than 22,000 children and young people were involved in workshops on questions about their lives and future in the city. Their inputs were analyzed by scientists and then again discussed by young people, so they could become the core of the children and youth strategy of the city of Vienna. Youth creates youth strategy, one of many promising practices presented by Act Now.
Vienna is a city of young people. In the last decades, Vienna grew to be the youngest part of Austria. There are 360,000 young people in Vienna. If there are so many citizens of a certain age, these citizens have to be asked in the things they concern them. And I think it's better to start from the beginning, not only the decision-making process, but also the planning process, the process of finding out what are the main topics of the process of scratching an ideal city for the future, and that is basically what we try to do with our project. In order to get this big thing going, we really did a lot of work before starting everything to carefully design materials that work with all age groups. It wasn't that easy because we aimed at young people from 0 to 21. And that was the one reason why we decided to have very basic questions in the core of the workshops. And it was the reason why we tried to make it like a game to play. It was very easy to open the box with the workshop materials and just to start. With these materials, it was possible to make workshops all over the city, wherever young people are, in the park, in the school, in a youth club. And that led to a really, really awesome turnout in workshops. And now it's not 10,000 young people who contributed, it's 22,500. So it's the largest participation process in Austria ever. I'm deeply convinced that if you involve the people in a city, and especially the young people in the city itself gets a better place. But it also has an effect on the young persons themselves. And it is something that gives young persons self-confidence and empowers them to actively change the world. And the world needs it.
Donc, peut-être pour résumer, ça c'était une idée de projet ou un projet qui était mis en œuvre à Vienne, en Autriche. Et ça, c'est pour vous inspirer quelle sorte de type de projet on peut proposer pour la capitale européenne de la démocratie. Et en cours, ça, c'était un projet pour impliquer 22 000 jeunes, surtout entre 0 et 22 ans, pour co-construire la stratégie pour la jeunesse. Donc, il y avait un nombre d'ateliers, comme vous avez vu dans les images, avec tout petit, avec plus grand, pour avoir leur idée, leur priorité pour la stratégie de la jeunesse à Vienne.
Merci, Katharina. I'm ready to introduce the next project. It's called Cooperative Council Groningen. And it was the winner in the category Democracy at the last year's Innovation in Politics Awards. And its main goal was to rebuild trust between politicians and citizens.
Democracy. Cooperative Council Groningen. Trust is essential in life and in politics. The Cooperative Council in Groningen was established to build trust between politicians and citizens. By letting residents and city councillors sit shoulder to shoulder on the council and make decisions together, the sharing of responsibility and participatory democracy developed quickly. Citizens are randomly selected to encourage a variety of people to join. Monitoring by the University of Groningen measured a collective rise in trust, increased voting, and a tighter-knit community.